Welcome back to another beautiful day in the land of music. My name is Douglas, and in today's video, I'm going to be comparing the NORD Stage 3 before and after the latest firmware update. So NORD came out with a firmware update that's directly related to the velocity settings inside the NORD Stage 3 in relation to playing it with an external keyboard or controller. So what I wanted to do in this video is show you a before, what the issue is and kind of what it sounds like, and then I'm going to install the firmware update, which will be a separate video for those of you who want to know how to install the firmware update. But in this same video, I'm going to play it again after the firmware update and show you the setting changes and the difference that it makes. So you can decide for yourself whether it's worth upgrading the NORD Stage 3 to the latest firmware or not. I'll leave that up to you, but hopefully this video will demonstrate. So the issue is, and has been for quite some time, is that when you play the NORD Stage 3 with an external controller or keyboard through MIDI, you get a much sharper velocity curve from the external controller than you do when playing the NORD Stage 3. The best that I can do is just demonstrate this because it's hard to explain. So I'm going to play some things and let you kind of hear the difference. So this is playing the NORD Stage 3 keyboard, and this is a semi-weighted action, but this is what it sounds like, the dynamics of playing this on the NORD Stage 3. And then you can play it a little harder. That's the Royal Grand 3D. I figure that gives some good example of the dynamics. So now let's play the NORD Stage 3 from the controller, and I just have this plugged in through traditional MIDI in out, and I've got the setting on my Hammer 88 Pro to the out-of-the-box linear velocity control setting because I want to see the difference without changing any settings. You can change the velocity curve of the Hammer 88 Pro, but in this video, I don't want to do that. I just want to play it as if you had just purchased the Hammer 88 Pro, plugged it into the NORD Stage 3 and said, let's go ahead and play this. As you can tell right away, it's a much harsher velocity curve than the NORD Stage 3. I'm going to play a single G note on the NORD Stage 3 keyboard from softest to hardest and kind of show you what that sounds like. I have to hit it pretty hard to get that almost sharp sounding piano sound. So on the Hammer 88 Pro, I'm barely hitting the thing. So if I touch the keys as light as possible, same here. Check out the difference in, it's almost the volume, but it's like the dynamic difference. Man, this has so much more dynamics. So you can tell right away without changing any settings on the NORD Stage 3 or the Hammer 88 Pro, if I just play like I would normally play, this has much better control over that piano sound. And that would apply with any sound we're playing. So it's almost as if, in my mind, the Hammer 88 Pro has a really sharp, starts low, but then it jumps right to the high really quickly. You can go into the Hammer 88 Pro and you can change the keyboard sensitivity level, but even if I go in here and I change this to the lowest, it's almost like it cuts out the top range and it's still a sharp velocity curve. And there's not really any settings. There is a setting under the external side of the NORD Stage 3, which I'll make a video on that external panel here, but that's more for the NORD controlling other keyboards or things like that. So it doesn't really come into play when you're connecting and controlling the NORD Stage 3 with like a weighted controller like I've got here. So I'm gonna go ahead and install the firmware update on the NORD Stage 3. I'll put a link in the description for that video if you're curious how to do that. You may already know how to install the firmware update. So in the next clip, I'm gonna have the firmware installed and we're gonna test this out after the firmware update. I'm gonna bring the Hammer 88 Pro back up to its normal linear out of the box sensitivity level. And in the next clip, let's try this out with the firmware updated. And just like that, we've got the firmware updated on the NORD Stage 3 to version 2.60. Again, if you're curious on how to actually do that step-by-step firmware update, check out the description below or click here. But let's go ahead and play the NORD Stage 3 again with the same velocity curve and everything. We've got the Hammer 88 Pro set on linear, and this is what the NORD Stage 3 again sounds like. I can definitely tell there's a difference unless I'm just psyching my mind out, but I can finally get, so this is me playing it as light as possible. Oh, it's almost the same. This is huge because I feel like the Hammer 88 Pro, part of the reason I wanted it was to be able to have an 88 key weighted hammer action controller for my semi-weighted NORD Stage 3. So being able to have the dynamics that I have on the NORD is huge because I can finally use this in church. I love it. Now, I'm a huge fan of the NORD Stage 3 piano sounds anyway. Let's flip over to the white grand and try that out. I will say it still is a sharper curve. Getting from 0 to 127 happens a lot faster on the Hammer 88 Pro, but I at least have access to those lower velocities. So before it was like, so it was almost starting at like 50. Now I can hit some of those lower. It still is faster. So let's go into the Hammer 88 Pro. Let's change that down to like a medium. That's almost identical. So I'm hitting the keys almost exactly the same. Obviously, there's a little difference because semi-weighted hammer, so this is going to take a little bit of a harder hit. But what was weird and psyching me out before is the Hammer 88 Pro took less, being hammer action, took less to get to that 127 max velocity than the semi-weighted. It just wasn't right. So now on the Hammer 88 Pro, I can hit them harder than I would the semi-weighted to get to there because it should be a harder action. So with the Hammer 88 Pro set on medium, this is what it sounds like. And I'm going to play both of them together and at the same like dynamics and see how it sounds together. I'm happy with that. I think that's great. Let me know what you guys think. I think the perfect setting is a Hammer 88 Pro on medium. Feels like an actual grand piano and sounds like it because piano sounds are great. I think that's great. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think there was a difference between the before and the after? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. I've got some more coming out on both the NORD Stage 3 and also using the Hammer 88 Pro to control some of the pianos that come in Complete 13 Ultimate. Stoked to get into those and start talking about details there. Thanks for watching. Stay inspired and keep making that music.